Pojďme se podívat na první technologii, o které dnes budeme mluvit, a to konkrétně pohledem společnosti Microsoft. Protože Microsoft má připravený program AI pro dobrou věc, tedy program, který podporuje inovativní řešení, která jsou postavena na umělé inteligenci. Pro celý program Microsoft vyčlenil $115 milionů, 25 milionů dolarů. Vyčlenil konkrétně pro umělou inteligenci pro život bez bariér. Jak konkrétně by měla umělá inteligence pomáhat? To už popíše Microsoft Accessibility Evangelist Hector Minto. Hector, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us here. How are you? Everything good?
Everything's great. Lovely evening in Prague last night. It's great to be here.
Please, could you tell me, in which areas has been artificial intelligence helping so far?
So I think the message we want to make sure everyone hears today is that computers can now speak, can hear, can think on behalf of other humans. And when we focus on disability and bridging that gap for people who have a sensory deficit, yeah, suddenly AI really comes to life. And so I'm going to give you plenty of examples. But one of the other really important things is it's people with disabilities that give the best advice on how to invent the future, the technology of the future. And so hopefully I'm going to show you some examples. When you see them, don't just think they're amazing technology. Think that they came from teams of committed individuals at Microsoft and with our partners, including people with disabilities and our employees with disabilities.
Perfect. Let's go ahead, please.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's start by sharing how we see disability in the modern world. The problems that we see are not just about technology or design, but actually they're bigger than that. They're about inclusion, and actually they're about employment. We know that across the world there are over 1 billion people with a disability. But we also know that even in developed countries where we have we've had a long history of supporting people with disabilities, the employment gap is double. So at the moment, we're not getting it right. In fact, we could go so far as to say that the technology in the workplace today is disabling. We know that the technology has to be adapted for people with disabilities or designed in the first place with people with disabilities in mind. And so when you see our work that we're doing here, please be aware that we're really looking at employment. That is our main aim, is employment and inclusion. Only 1 in 10 people in the world get the technology they need for a disability. Only 1 in 10 people are routinely finding a piece of technology that levels the playing field. And that's for many different reasons. It may be that the companies who create the equipment only go to certain parts of the world. It may be that the cost is too expensive for many people to be able to access it. It may be that the professionals who would assess somebody and advise somebody on the technology don't even exist in some countries. I work a lot around the world, and when I was last in China, I was speaking to a group of professionals interested in people who couldn't speak. Speech therapists is what we call people in that role. But in fact, after 2 days at the conference, I found out that they were all physiotherapists, yeah, and that speech therapists didn't exist. So we have many, many issues, but one of the main issues is that the technology is not readily available. We want to move to a world where when you turn a computer on, it's been designed with you in mind. It's been designed for a wide number of users. And I'm showing here an example within our browser. This is Microsoft Edge. Edge is the default Internet Explorer. Think of it like this for now, on Windows 10. When you open up any website in the world, regardless of how inaccessible it may have been designed, you can now right-click and click Read Aloud. And it will now read with highlighting. It will read all of the words out loud to you, and it will highlight the words as it reads them. Now, this was designed with people with dyslexia in mind. But we now have 14 million people a month using that technology. We know, back in the US, back in Redmond, we know how many people are clicking that button. We know how much that feature is being used. And we're reaching 14 million people a month are choosing to have their web content read to them rather than reading it visually. And they're not all blind. They don't all have low vision. They don't all have dyslexia. Some of them may just be learning a second language. The point is that it shouldn't be designed as a special option for screen reader users in mind. it should be that we have a changing expectation of technology. And the way we get here in Microsoft is that we hack, we innovate, we get groups of people around to kind of think of the issues involved, and with real passion, go and make things happen. You know, start a project, build it up, see how much interest it gets, and see where it lands. A few years ago, we worked with an American football player called Steve Gleason with ALS, motor neurone disease, and eye control. And this is an eye control unit. I'm here all day. If anybody wants to try it, come and use a computer with your eyes. Don't be shy, come and say hello to me. We have now got that down to a cost of $150. You can now plug in an eye control into a Windows computer, and the eye control keyboard and mouse and speech aid is available built into Windows 10 as standard, and all we need is one of these cameras to be able to unlock that feature. So the other issue here is driving this global awareness and global availability out. This should not be reserved for people who can afford one in well-developed, funded medical markets. We want this to be readily available for everybody. So when we talk about disability inside Microsoft, we make sure that engineers, teams starting their project, recognize that disability is not a medical condition. We don't need to worry about the medical condition. We have to focus on the mismatch between the person and what they're trying to do. And when you design with that in mind and look at who is excluded from your product, then you start to see magic happen. And I'm going to show you some examples. Because when we design for a permanent disability, in the example I showed you earlier with Read Aloud, it was designed with dyslexia in mind. But what happens then is you can extend it to people who might just be temporarily disabled, learning to read. And then you find out that it's used by people in situational disabilities, like me being here in Prague and trying to read things in Czech on the computer. Okay? So when we design for very specific needs, we find out there's a much larger group of people who benefit from the solutions. We also want to make sure that we're supporting you. So every feature that I show you here today, and in the conversations over coffee later on, we want you to really see that they're changing all of the time and for you to keep up to date with them. So we have various websites. We have an accessibility feature sway, which is linked here on my slides. We can share the slides with anyone who's interested afterwards. But you can go there and you can keep up to date with all of these features that are landing across all of the Microsoft products, including things like Xbox. We also want you to have free technical support around the world for people with disabilities. So whether you're in the workplace or whether you're a home user and you would like to get your computer back up and running or you have a problem, even if you're using your own specialist software or specialist hardware, we have a dedicated support line to get you back up and running. Okay, so this is also extremely important. So let's give you some examples. On every single Windows computer, you can press Windows key and plus and magnify in. We need people to know this. Many people think this is only something available on the web. They think you can magnify a website or you can magnify a document. But Windows Plus allows you to magnify right in on Windows. And we use smoothing to make sure that nothing looks pixelated anymore. This is really important, and that's actually using artificial intelligence to fill the gaps in the pixels. Windows Escape takes you back. We're also, as I said, using things like learning tools to convert text into a way that you can read it. So when you see text that doesn't quite work for you, you can have it read aloud, but in the browser and in OneNote, you can now separate the words, split the words into their component syllables, have it read with highlighting. So we're now moving into a world where you can convert the text to work for you, even if the person who designed the website or the document didn't have you in mind at the start. Okay? And this, again, is using artificial intelligence. This is also where I translate my documents. And in English, when I see a word that I don't understand, I can click on it, and it shows me a picture to represent it as well. We also have something called the Accessibility Checker. So many of you will have worked in website design and looked at the accessibility of websites. And quite often you will see an accessibility option on a website there for you. But how many of you have ever checked a document for accessibility? We're now moving into a world where actually there are European regulations that say documents must also be accessible. If the public are being given documents, they need to be checked for accessibility. And so we're live checking documents in Office 365 for accessibility. When you're writing a document, it will flag you and say, you need to check the accessibility here before you share this. So this is also something we're doing to kind of make the author of documents, not just of websites, check things before they send them and recognize the needs of people with disabilities, especially in the workplace. PowerPoint Designer is what we call our hero demo inside Microsoft. Does anybody like making PowerPoint slides? No. No one likes making PowerPoint slides. Yeah? And you're always jealous when you see somebody who has beautiful PowerPoint slides. Well, using artificial intelligence now, we're doing a few things. Any of you can put your words and your photos into your slides, and using artificial intelligence, we will create beautiful-looking slides that anyone will be proud of. This was inspired inside Microsoft by employees with physical disabilities, who worked out that it took 83 clicks on average to create a beautiful-looking slide. Now, we were all doing those 83 clicks. We were all clicking numerous times to make our slides look great, but through the lens of disability, and obviously having a culture of inclusion at Microsoft where people could voice this and share their disability and their reasons why, we started to use artificial intelligence to create amazing-looking slides for everybody. And now everyone across the world is benefiting from this feature inspired by disability. Captions and subtitles. Isn't it fantastic to be at an event where we have captions available, where we have an interpreter? But how many meetings in the workplace or education do we have captions on demand? It's extremely rare. Even in the most well-funded countries, it's extremely rare. And so in PowerPoint, normal PowerPoint, I can now speak directly into my computer and have captions even translated into Czech. Now, I don't know how well it's translating me with this audio now, but this is free, available in normal PowerPoint for you to speak. At the moment, we can't listen to Czech. That will come. But I'm speaking in English, and you're getting a live Czech translation on the PC. This is also available in Skype. So you can call people around the world and have your voice translated and transcribed. As I say, we won't always get the best audio on, in exhibition halls, so please give that a try. So this is artificial intelligence. This is the computer listening to my voice, hearing my voice, and turning it into text. But at the same time, it's processing it through the cloud and translating it into a second language and checking whether it's accurate or not. What it actually does is it reads the content of my slides and builds me an artificial intelligence model to increase the accuracy of the captions. This is all just running in the background using AI. So I said earlier that it's people with disabilities that are doing this. And I don't think there's any better example of this than Seeing AI, which is available today. Seeing AI is a free app available on iPhone only at the moment, but it's, we have high hopes that it will come further, which is available for you all to download and see what artificial intelligence is doing for people who are blind or have low vision. It was written, the code was written, the project was run by a blind coder at Microsoft called Saqib Sheikh in London, who is an amazing guy. But I'm going to give you a quick demo of it in action. We're not going to be able to hear it because of the audio set up in the room, but we'll describe as we go along what's happening. So Daniel, I'd like to invite you back up, and we're going to do a quick demo.
Okay, thank you.
Now,
give me a hint what's going to happen.
So Daniel's being very brave here. One of the things with people who are blind or have low vision is that they don't know who's in the room with them, or they don't know how the person in the room is feeling or reacting to what they're saying. So we have a person channel. So we can just switch the feed, please, to my phone.
Teď se přepneme tak, že to, co uvidíme tady na telefonu, uvidíte vy na projekci.
Do I need to press the button?
Tak, abychom to mohli propojit, tak abyste přímo mohli sledovat, jak tato aplikace funguje doslova a do písmene v reálném čase.
I can see it down here.
Ještě se nám nepodařilo propojit, my jsme propojili jenom na jiný monitor, ten je trochu menší, ten by nám všem nestačil. Tady to dobře vidíme a dobře to funguje, ale jakmile se propojíme na ten velký monitor a už to běží výborně. Teď vidíte přesně to, co vidí Hector na svém telefonu.
So here's Daniel. I'll come around here so I'm on the microphone. Thank you. Here's Daniel. We can see him on screen and he's waving and he's giving us a nice smile. And we press the camera and it says, 27-year-old man with brown hair looking happy.
Musím aplikaci poděkovat. Ještě 3 dny mi bude 30, ale 27 zní lépe.
But now let's say something that is not so, that makes Daniel less happy. So Daniel's not so happy with me. He's now a 33-year-old man with brown hair looking angry. Now, this artificial intelligence in play recognizes a real need of people who are blind. They will be sitting in meetings, consultations, parents of children at schools speaking to teachers, and they want to know how people are feeling. They also want to recognize who's in the room. So locally, we can set it up so that you train it, the names of the people that you're familiar with. There are some more channels in here, so thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
The other channels in here are things like product, and I'm going to show you a few more, money, but also colors. But the other thing we can do is take photos live and read handwriting. Now, the important thing I'm just going to take a photo of the crowd, because why shouldn't we do that? Let's try. It says, a group of people in a room. Well, that's an understatement, I would say. But so we're using our phone there to narrate the world around us. If we can just switch back. So we're using our phone to narrate the world around us. This will read documents, read handwriting, give colors so that people who are blind can do their laundry and decide which t-shirt they want to wear in the morning. That level of insight only comes from people who have those needs. But what's interesting is that people who have disabilities are looking at artificial intelligence and immediately saying, I know what I would like that to do for me. And this is really important. So, we are running a program called AI for Accessibility. It's $25 million of cloud product, of Azure, this is our cognitive services, and consultation and partnership to make sure that we create global products for disability. That we create low-cost, readily available, open-source products that maybe people can build with their own imagination, recognizing their own needs. We have a few pillars, thank you. We have a few pillars that we're working on. Employment, daily life, and human communication. We think these are 3 specific areas that will really impact the lives of people with disabilities. We think from our own experience of the apps that we are creating, the software features that we are creating, the projects that our employees with disabilities are running, we think these are the 3 areas where we can deliver the most impact. But we are going global on this, so I'm here to also share a story of a project that's kicking off in Romania at the moment. In Romania today, there are about 10% of children with a speech and language problem. People who are developing speech at a slower rate, or not developing speech at all. But there is a huge shortage of speech and language therapists to be able to do the assessments and make sure that the children get the support that they need. And so we're sponsoring through the AI for Accessibility program a product called TimLogo, which will allow children with speech and language deficits to sit in front of a computer and do games and exercises where we can monitor their speech and then give them different exercises to bring their speech forward using artificial intelligence. This is amazing. This is amazing for a number of reasons. We want this to go global. In Romania, there are no decent speech-to-text options at all. So speaking computers in Romania is a problem. But we actually think that disability and a project like this will be the one that allows us to actually create the tools that everybody in Romania will use in the future, but that comes from disability. So, on April the 15th. I'm sorry, I got the date wrong. Sorry, May 20th. I'm sorry, May 20th, get rid of this one. On May the 20th, we are getting together at Microsoft, not me, I got the date wrong. On May the 20th, we're getting together and we are inviting all of you to make sure that you come and think about what you could do with artificial intelligence to create the products of the future. We want this to be a global effort. And so the team at Microsoft, with our product teams and our engineers and the supporters to work with the communities who need this technology, are all getting together to make sure that we go further and global with the AI for Accessibility program. Thank you.
Hector, thank you very much indeed. Na co se chcete zeptat? Prosím, klidně se ptejte. Tím tady první otázku. Mířím hned za vámi. Dobrý den, prosím, ptejte se.
Dobrý den, já jsem zrakové postižený, tedy nevidomý, a musím říct, že aplikaci Sync AI velice dobře znám a chválím, a je výborné, že ji Microsoft vytvořil. A jenom bych chtěl za Českou republiku Microsoft poprosit, protože ta aplikace je stále jenom v angličtině, tak jestli by přece jenom jsem to tam nemohl postrčit, aby se zamysleli nad přeložením do českého jazyka, nebo aspoň. Další výborná věc je tam takzvaná short text, to znamená, že ta aplikace převede rychle text, na který kouká, a tam je problém s českou diakritikou, tak třeba tohle aspoň teda. Jinak je to výborná aplikace.
Děkujeme moc, Zdeňku.
Yeah. So this is the challenge, is going global with projects like this. We need to create both a demand and we need to create links with local supporters who can run those programs. When you see Seeing AI, we can get ambitious and we can say, yes, we would like there to be, we would like Microsoft to localize that into every language, and we should. You know, we absolutely should be working on this, and we are. You know, we really want that project to go global. I would just make the comment that you have the opportunity to create your own product using exactly the same tools. So if you wanted something that was really Czech, you know, that really catered for the lives of Czech people, that recognized Czech money, that, you know, that recognized particular faces, that did all these sorts of things for you, you have the opportunity to create that product of the future. I absolutely understand that you would like us to make sure that our products work globally perfectly, and we should. But my challenge back to you is to engage with the business community, engage with the NGOs, and say, no, we can actually do this ourselves, and make sure that we have something that's, you know, that's developed and sustainable for our local market.
And if they do it, can they count on support by Microsoft?
Yeah, so the idea with the program is that there are various grant criteria. It is a competition in that regard. You know, we are getting more applications than we can cope with. But I would say that we're getting a shortage of applications from certain parts of the world. And we really would like to support projects globally. You know, there is a real political ambition for disability products and accessibility tools to be available globally. So this is why we're here. You know, we want to create that, you know, that enthusiasm here for you to create the tools for yourselves. And I would say, as long as they meet the criteria and you know, you're competing with everybody else in the room at the same time, you know, we want to get you ready for success, and so that's what the day is for at Microsoft. Great question.
Stihneme ještě další otázku určitě, že se nám hlásí pán ve čtvrté řadě, už se k vám je mikrofon. Dobrý den.
Dobrý den, kratochvíl. Mě zaujalo to prohlížeči EDG, že to přečte text, když se klikne pravým tlačítkem. Ale já neslyším. Na internetu je v současnosti mnoho videí, které nejsou opatřeny titulky. A chtěl bych se zeptat, jestli se nechystá třeba i něco obráceně, že bych klikl pravým tlačítkem na video nebo na něco a ono by mi vyskočilo okénko, kde by byl napsaný text, co se v tom videu říká.
Děkujeme, pane Kratochvíle.
Great question. I would make a couple of points here. We have a website, and one of the resources I mentioned earlier on one of the slides is called our User Voice Forum. People, just exactly like this, people with disabilities have the best ideas. And this is a live example of somebody saying, no, I want it to do this. So we have a user voice forum where you can pitch your ideas and use your community to vote and upvote the ideas that you would like us to work on first for accessibility. In terms of more generally, and going to this concept of live captions, making sure that every video has captioning on it. You know, if we look at YouTube and Facebook, they're doing this already. In Microsoft, in Office 365, we have something called Stream. And what that means that all videos in the workplace and in education can be captioned automatically. But then using the translation feature, we can then also translate it into foreign languages live, dynamically. I can certainly show that to people later on. So absolutely. The other thing I would say to you on your live captions on video is that our translator services, or our transcription services, are available through our web browser. So you can open a second window, listen to your computer and see live transcription at the same time, but obviously we need to get the Czech language going first. So everything you're saying is kind of technically possible, but you're opening a few different programs to make it happen.
Says Hector Minto. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.